Happy December! Can you believe it's actually the last month of the year? I'll tell you a secret. December is my favorite month of the year. Part that's because it's my birthday month, December 9th, but even better, Christmas! Christmas is celebrating Jesus, God's greatest gift. Speaking of gifts, have you heard about Valley Kids' free 12 Days of Christmas Family Activity Kit? It's full of games, activities, and surprises to help your family count down to Christmas. And we're giving the kits away for free, curbside, on Saturday, December 12th from 10 to noon at our campus. You don't even have to get out of your car. Parents, the kits are zero prep for you and 100% family fun for all. Make sure to reserve your free kit at ccvlive.com. Now, before we jump into worship and our lesson taught by Orange Kids, let's play a game. This one's called Dope or Nope. In this game, it's your job to decide whether you think the gift is cool, meaning dope, or nope. Grab your family members to see if they agree. There's some pretty cool ideas. Let's check it out. Many good gifts in there. The back scratching map, the ice cream lock, the flashlight slippers. I totally hope I get something like that for nighttime. Speaking of, today's story is about a time that seemed pretty dark, but then God gave his people something to hope for. Which reminds me of our brand new verse for this month. It's from Luke 2:11 and says this: "Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord." Let's say it one more time. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. Now, let's check out that story. Countdown with me. 3, 2, 1.
Inspired by the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, verse 6.
Jess stared out the window at the ice beating down. Every holiday plan for the weekend had been canceled. And to top it off, the school had just released Jess's most recent grades.
A D in language arts? What happened, Jess?
I don't know.
You're such a good storyteller.
I can't make all the words work out when I try to write it down. Can I go play Mindstorm?
Hun, you need to read for an hour first.
An hour? I thought it was 30 minutes.
Your teacher and I talked. We think a little more reading time will help.
Jess glared.
I don't have anything to read.
You've got an entire bookshelf in your room.
Those are little kid books.
Then look at Emma's bookshelf.
Emma was Jess's older sister, already in high school.
Fine, whatever.
Jess stalked upstairs to Emma's room, peeked inside. The room was empty, but everything was neatly organized. Emma had even done all of the colorful artwork on her own walls.
Miss Perfect.
Jess sighed. Everything seemed to come easily to Emma. Writing, math, friends, life.
I'll probably be stuck in 5th grade for the rest of my life.
Jess stood in front of Emma's bookshelf, running her finger over the thick spines. At last, a swirl of color on the bottom shelf caught her eye.
Comic book Bible. Huh.
Jess thumped down onto the floor and pulled the book off the shelf. She flipped it open, and color exploded off the page.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
The images of creation were vivid and detailed, as if she were right there.
Pretty cool.
Jess found herself drawn into the familiar stories, seeing and hearing them in a brand new way. Moses and the Red Sea, the fall of Jericho, David and Goliath, Esther boldly approaching the king, David's incredible poetry in the Psalms.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
After the Psalms, though, Jess paged into unfamiliar territory.
Isn't Daniel in the lion's den around here somewhere? Who's this guy?
Jess stared at a man with a long white beard, using a quill to scribble on a scroll.
A child will be born to us, a son will be given to us. He will rule over us, and he will be called Wonderful Advisor and Mighty God. He will also be called Father who lives forever, and Prince who brings peace.
Hey! Jess nearly dropped the book. She glanced up to see Emma standing in the doorway.
What are you doing in my room?
Mom said I could pick a book.
Well, ask next time, okay?
I didn't touch anything.
Okay, it's fine.
Emma settled down on the floor beside Jess and took a look at the book.
Aunt Chris gave me this book when I started high school.
It's pretty cool. I mean, until this part. It's kind of hard to make a guy writing a letter exciting.
Jess pointed out Mr. Whitebeard.
Oh, you mean Isaiah?
Who's he talking about? Jesus?
Yeah, but it's way more amazing when you look at the big picture. You see, God's people were in big trouble. Over and over, the Israelites promised to love and obey God. And then every single time, they turned their backs on him.
Turn their backs? Like how?
Well, they'd start praying to false gods like other nations around them, trying to do things their own way. So, God allowed them to be captured by other nations.
Emma flipped back, showing images of battles, powerful foreign kings, groups of captives.
The Israelites got in really big trouble. Things looked hopeless.
So God just ditched them.
No way. Every single time, God showed he was still with them. He sent kings who loved God like David and Solomon and Josiah. And he sent prophets like Elijah and Isaiah to speak God's truth and hope to the people.
Even though they totally messed up.
Yep. Through it all, God promised that he was going to send someone who would rescue them forever.
Jess flipped back to Isaiah and read slowly.
A child will be born to us, a son will be given to us. He will rule over us.
That's only one prophecy. There are hundreds of prophecies in the Old Testament that talk about Jesus coming.
Jess nodded, trying to take it in.
That's a lot of promises.
And God came through. The Israelites had to wait a long time, but God kept every single one of those promises when he sent Jesus to live on earth.
His very own son.
Oh, little town of Bethlehem and all that. You can take the book if you want.
Emma tapped the comic book Bible. Jess smiled.
Does God promise that I'll get a better grade in language arts?
No, but he does promise to be with you and give you the patience and courage you need to keep working on it.
They both listened to the ice rattling against the window.
Hey, you want to play Mindstorm?
Sure, just let me read a little more first.
Emma gave a thumbs up, and Jess settled back down to keep reading. She paged forward to the book of Luke, eager to see for herself again how God had delivered on his promise to send a savior.
Okay, so hundreds of years before the first Christmas, it felt like God's people were in the dark. They dealt with bad kings and had wars with other nations. They had been taken captive and been removed from their homes. They needed help. They needed hope. You may not remember exactly what that's like, but you probably have been through a dark day or two. Trouble at home, trouble at school, trouble in the world. Sometimes you need a little help to get you through. Well, the good news for God's people for hundreds of years turns out to be good news for us too. God promised through Isaiah that he would send a baby who one day would save the world. And around 700 years later, God kept his promise when Jesus was born. Listen, If it took you or me 700 years to keep a promise, that probably wouldn't be too cool. But God's different. He's been here forever and he'll be here forever. 700 years is like... Sometimes with hope, there's a little waiting involved. One thing's for sure though, when God makes a promise, he keeps it. So when things are dark, know that God promised to send us a savior. When you're lonely, God promises he'll always be with you. When you're sad or hurting, know that God promises there's going to come a day when there'll be no more pain and no more sadness. Isn't that something to hope for? So here's the one thing to remember today. We can have hope because God keeps his promises. Let me say that again. We can have hope because God keeps his promises. There's a little gift of hope for you this Christmas. And speaking of Christmas, we've got some new worship songs for you this month. And speaking of you, some of you might see yourselves in these videos. Thanks to all of you who helped make them happen. And if you ever want to be featured doing a memory verse or in one of our YouTube videos, let us know. We would love to feature you. Okay, friends, let's get our worship on, and don't forget to reserve your free 12 days of Christmas countdown kit at ccvlive.com. Stay safe, stay connected, and stay hopeful. See you next week.
While shepherds kept there watching, or silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. The shepherds feared and trembled, when lo, above the earth ring out the angels' chorus that hailed our Savior's birth. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Down in a lowly manger, our humble Christ was born, and God sent us salvation, that blessed Christmas morn. Oh, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it, go, go, go. Tell it, go, go, go. Tell it, go, go, go. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain shepherds came to see the baby, stood by his mother's side. Here lay the Savior inside a manger. Oh, what a glorious night. Oh, what a glorious night. I hear the angels singing, hallelujah, let the earth receive her King. I know that love has come. Sing it out, Jesus Christ is born. Jesus Christ is born, yeah. The shepherds wonder, they couldn't hide it, told everyone in sight. All were amazed when they heard how God came down on a glorious night. God came down on this glorious night. I hear the angels singing, hallelujah, let the earth receive her King. I know that love has come. Sing it out, Jesus Christ is born. Jesus Christ is born, yeah. Glorious, glorious, what a glorious night. Glorious, glorious, what a glorious night. I hear the angels singing, hallelujah, let the earth receive her King. I know that love has come. Sing it out, Jesus Christ is born. I hear the angels singing, hallelujah, let the earth receive her King. I know that love has come, yeah. Sing it out, Jesus Christ is born. I heard that Jesus Christ is born, yeah, yeah, yeah. All is calm now, all is quiet, a star shining in the sky. Below in Bethlehem, the King is sleeping. Oh, what a glorious